It is always smart to take small pieces of drywall out at a time and inspect what's up there. You never know what the guy before you did. He could be hiding something up there that will be a nightmare for you. Take out small pieces before you cut a big chunk out to repair it. This way, you're not in a pinch. I'm sanding the trim so that I can spray some kills and some shellac on it and hide the staining. This sealant is an overboarded sealant, and if you don't know what that means, you can watch the video. I'll link to it up here at the top of the screen, where Katana and I overboarded a sealant in Burlington, New Jersey. What I'm doing here is Katana cut me a patch, and I'm cutting the hole in the sealant to match the size of the patch. It's easier going that way than trying to cut a patch to a hole. Always cut the hole to the patch. Now you'll see once I get this cut out of here that there's lath back there. See the wooden slats? That is the lath that is holding up the plaster. And there's a little bit of plaster that you can still see in that front right corner there. I will eventually bust that out of there to make room for this drywall. The plaster in this part of the sealant is approximately 5/8 of an inch thick, and I only brought 1/2 inch rock with me. When I put this rock up in there, it's going to be recessed by about 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to show you how to fix that right after this. So there's plenty of debris up here. It's just busted up pieces of plaster that are trapped in behind the drywall. That's what happens when you overboard a seal and the plaster stays behind it. So as you drive the screws through, sometimes it breaks the plaster behind it, and it just sits there for your whole life until somebody has to go in and patch something or you pull it down. Now what I'm doing here, and I'm sure you've seen this a million times, this is just a piece of scrap 1x4 material, and I'm screwing it into the existing existing drywall through parts of the plaster, so when I stick up the patch I have something to attach it to. In most cases you can use all kinds of timber. You can use 2x4, 1x4, 2x3s, it doesn't matter. In this case, because I have the lath there, I have to use something thin. So I have to use a 3/4 inch piece of timber, which is a 1x material. One of the things I like to do is offer one-day drywall patches. Now, is it possible in every case? No, it's not. It really depends on how damaged the ceiling or the wall is, where the location is, what the situation is. But in this particular case, this was a 5-hour job. Start to finish. From the time I said, "Hi, I'm Bob," to the time I said, "Thank you very much, have a good day," it was 5 hours. And 10 minutes of that 5 hours was throwing a sandwich down my throat for lunch. And the only reason I even took the time for that is I'm diabetic now. So I have to make sure that I have food intake so that I don't crash my sugar. This is a 5-hour deal. It was done in 5 hours from start to finish. The customer was very happy. And it can be done. If you have a contractor that tells you, "Oh, I have to come back 3 or 4 times," that might be true as well. I'm not saying that you can always get this done in one day. What you see me putting up there now is Durabond 90. It is a compound that comes in powder form, and you mix it with water. You pack it in there, and it's not sandable. It's not something that you can sand. It literally dries like cement. It's like concrete in the ceiling. But what it does do is it ensures that I don't have to come back and fix this, because this won't crack. If the house settles, if something moves, another part of the ceiling might crack, but this part is not. This is very good material to pre-fill your seams with. I let that cure, and then I tape over it. And when I tape over it, you can use Durabond 90 to tape with, but I prefer to use like an Easy Sand 20, which is a quicker cure, but it's sandable. And not that you're going to sand under the tape, you're not going to, but it's a quicker cure, but it's a sandable type of material so that if you leave a ridge somewhere, you can at least clean up after yourself. I gotta try to build that out a little bit. There's a small recess, so when I put the patch in there, it's sitting down maybe 1/8 of an inch, maybe 3/16 of an inch. So what I'm doing here is I'm applying 20-minute Easy Sand drywall compound. This is a powder form. You mix it with cold water. It takes about 10 minutes to set up. At about 20-minute mark, you can probably almost tape over it if the humidity level is as high as it is in this house, because this lady loves her heat. It's actually pretty nice out today. It's in the 50s, but it's darn near 80 degrees in this living room. So Easy Sand 20, we'll put the fan on it, let it blow up on it a little bit, and tack up. This way we can get our tape on. We did not put the tape on yet, because if you try to put the tape on and it's not a level surface and part of the drywall, the patch part, is recessed into the ceiling, your tape's going to be crooked and it's not going to apply right. So we're pre-filling everything with the Easy Sand 20, and then we'll tape it after that. Okay, what am I doing? I'm spraying shellac onto the trim. I'm using a trowel covered with painter's tape so I don't get the shellac all over the trowel. Well, what is shellac? You're thinking, oh, well, you know what? It's probably some kind of a thing from the painting department. Well, it is. You buy in the paint department. But this is actually a resin that is secreted by a female lac bug that lives on trees in India. It also lives in Thailand. So halfway across the globe, a bug is squirting out this resin. It's sold here in the United States as dry flakes, which companies here dissolve in an alcohol, and they make liquid shellac. So I'm spraying bug juice on trim. It's all bug juice. You can't make this shit up. Now the worst part yet is that this stuff is in your food, but they don't say there's bug juice in there. They call it resin glaze, candy glaze, natural food glaze, confectionery glaze, lac resin. Ew. Alright, I know what you're probably thinking. You're thinking, man, that already looks good. And it does. But you got to remember, this is only the first coat over the tape. After this dries, I got to sand it down lightly, put a second coat on, let it cure, and then lightly sand that. I've got to caulk the seam right along here. I've got to paint the trim and paint the ceiling. And the ceiling's probably going to require 2 coats, and I have to feather it into the ceiling around it so I don't have to paint the whole room for the woman. So that's what we're doing now. We're letting the fan blow on it because I want to accelerate the curing time. And I do this to save my customer money. A lot of people that do drywall will get it to this point and say, let's make another appointment. I'll come back in 2 or 3 days and this will be dry and I'll sand it down. If I can accelerate the curing process and avoid having to come back a second or third time, that saves my customer money. It might cost a little bit more for the repair today, but it's going to be cheaper overall than having 2 or 3 trips to the same location. Have you ever seen anybody sand drywall before? Well, of course you have. And that's why I spared you sanding the first coat and applying the second coat. All I did was lightly sand the first coat. I applied a second coat of 20-minute joint compound, the powdered stuff you mix with water, and now that's dry and I'm sanding it. Look at that finish. That is absolutely wonderful. The customer's sitting on the steps about 3 feet from me going, wow, that looks amazing. I'm so impressed. And that's what I'm after. I want to make them happy. I want to earn a decent living. But I want quality product. And that's what we got here. But we ain't done.